thousands of dollars worth of crop that are about to get taken out by some aphids. Something like that. And the microtrol didn't do it, and your compost tea didn't do it. Have it around. But remember, it's going to wipe out a lot. It's going to wipe out not only the good insects and the bad insects, but it'll actually start to take down some of the biology that you've been working so hard to build up in your canopy, right? So this is a last resort.
Is there any drawback to using the aerosol version of that, like the spray can?
I don't really know what else they're putting in there to make that aerosol effect.
Right.
So I have concerns about that. But I have to be honest, I have used those when I brought insects from other people's farms into my greenhouse, and you just let that fogger out and it annihilates everything, and you start with a clean start. The foggers are nice because they spread everywhere, you know. They're kind of scary though. I'll put on a gas mask and eye protection and set it and just running away from it as fast as I can.
That's out in front of the door.
You know, so anyhow, before we go inside, what I want to explain to you now, I've been through two groups, and you're all going to laugh at the first group, all right? You're going to laugh together what we all did together as the first group. So the first group used, just wait here for a second, guys. Excuse me.
Yep, sorry.
Sorry about that. I'll be right back.
Does anybody have the cat? Can you take the cat? Yeah.
Yeah, it's inside.
Oh, thank you, everyone. This is so much nicer not having to yell all the way down the fish house over all the pumps and everything. Thank you. But I do want you guys to see the fish house. I'm coming in a minute. Thank you. So, now, I'm going to have a little very sweet and loving talk with Jed, because I'm telling you guys, I honestly admire, respect Jed, and learn things from him all the time. But this is he's honest with you guys too up there. He's saying he's starting out and he's learning all the time. This is a learning curve. All of us beginners may use these cheap $5.95 test strips. These are test strips. These are incredibly inaccurate. They test pH, total alkalinity, water hardness, nitrite, and nitrate. Once upon a time when I was starting out in aquaculture and aquaponics, I used to use these too. Because there are a multitude of reasons I don't like them. Practically, if you dunk them into the water, you're putting a little bit of chemical into your water. That could be easily taken care of. You just take out a little jar of water and put it into the jar, right? Now you got to discharge that, but at least you're not affecting your fish or whatever. It's a minuscule amount of toxins, but it's there. Then the more important, in my opinion, is when you dip it in, you got to set it down on something perfectly flat. And if you don't do that just right, one of these pads drips into the next. And when that happens, the two chemicals combine, and you get rainbows instead of the colors you're supposed to be matching up on the chart, right? These things drive me crazy. I dislike these things with all my being. So I'm just letting you know, you didn't hear me recommending these to you. But I'm trying to give you guys an idea of what water testing is while we're here at Jed's. And we'll get into more water testing tomorrow at my place. But so these are, so just to make fun of the first group, we all tried it. There's 6 fish tanks in here. 6 people were at 6 fish tanks. We all dunked. We all tried to test it. And all we ended up with was 6 people with chemicals of colors on their fingers. Okay? We didn't really have any results that I really liked. Now this is the most important reason I don't like these. Now, if you have a pH of 7, which is the normal, balanced, neutral water that most aquaponics people, including Dr. Ricosi, shoot for, because they're trying to make a balance between the more acidic environment of a plant and the more alkaline environment of a fish. Personally, I try to match the plant without hurting the fish. So lettuce tissue, I've done my research, lettuce tissue is 6.4, so I want my pH to be 6.4. If I'm stressing out my fish or causing some kind of bone disease in my fish because it's too acidic and the fish are taking calcium out of their bones to alkaline their body, then I'm going to go more alkaline, right? But what I want to make, the point I want to make to that is that when you're at 7.0, if you drop down to 6.9, only 6.9, you've doubled your acidity of the water. It's twice as acidic as 7.0. That's major.
Kind of like an earthquake on the earthquake scale.
Excellent. Kent had a perfect example. It's just like an earthquake scale, right? From 7.0 to 8.0 is not twice. It's 100 times, right? So this isn't quite 100 times, but it's 10 times. So between 7.0 and 6.0, 6.0 is 10 times more acidic than 7.0. So you need to know that. So why is that so important? Because if this thing is inaccurate from 0.3 more alkaline and 0.3 more acidic, you could be 0.6 off, which is 6 times more acidic or alkaline. So in my opinion, guys, this is worthless. Okay, so this is a cool little demonstration of what not to do. Now, here's the next thing I'm going to talk about and share with you my experience. So these are nitrite, ammonia, and nitrate tests. These are your typical chemical tests. Now these were built for aquariums, not aquaculture, and they were built with very little consideration about how much chemical is used. Boy, TJ really loves me, man. He's been sitting through this each time. So, I got your back, TJ. I got your back. Let me know whenever you need me, man. Anybody who could deal with my yelling 3 times in a row, earn my respect. All right, so in this case, there's a syringe. A syringe. So you're supposed to put a syringe load of chemicals in here, shake it around and wait 3 minutes for every effing test. Sorry guys, but I'm not going to go through all the tests that I do with that much chemical. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm not making fun of Jed. I really am not. I'm just sharing together as a community what makes more sense. Because I'm the same guy Jed is. When I was a couple years back, I was experimenting, finding out what works best. And that's why you guys are in this course. You don't have to take this course, but if you're in this course, you're going to have more success, more quickly, less mistakes, and less money wasted, right? So I'm going to teach you guys the best kit that I've found yet, which is a balance between quality and affordability. And it's at the house. I'll try to bring it in tomorrow morning so I can show it to everybody in class. But I'll definitely give you guys an example of it tomorrow when we do some testing up at the house. Now, there's 2 things that aren't here that are very, very important. There's 3 things that aren't here that are very, very important. First of all, I want to talk to you about the master parameter. I told the other guys that. pH is what I refer to as the master parameter. Anybody know why that is? The master parameter.
The hardest to change?
Because
That's a good one. She said the hardest to change. That could be a reason I call it. It's not why I thought of it, but maybe that's going to be my new reason.
If pH is off, it'll pretty much throw everything else off in the whole system.
Exactly. You guys hear that? pH affects everything in the system. pH affects the plants. pH affects the fish. pH affects the biology. If I change the pH too fast with either bringing it up too fast or bringing it down too fast, you're going to see your water go from almost clear or a light tea colored to a nasty cloudiness. When you see nasty cloudiness, you've created colony collapse in your system. You've changed the pH too fast, and now you have dead organisms floating around in the water. There's a concentrated a concentrated vinegar that I've never seen in the United States, in Spanish. In Nicaragua, it's called vinagre concentrado, concentrated vinegar. Very, very strong. And I poured that into the system there when we were trying to bring down the pH, and every day bringing it down, watching it come back up. So finally one of the interns is like, let's see what happens, and we pour a whole bunch in there. Everything in the system died. The fish actually survived, most of them survived, but every surface of everything under the rafts was this thick with a nasty brown slime. The walls of every tank was this thick with a nasty brown slime. The water was a nasty brown slime because they changed the pH too quickly and it caused all those organisms to die. So now you have millions upon trillions of organisms dead floating around in your water. So you never want to change your pH too quick. But the reason that I call it the master parameter is that if your pH is too out of whack, then you're going to be locking out nutrients for your plants. If you're too acidic, then you're going to be causing osteoporosis to your fish, right? So pH is the parameter I worry about most. That's why I have a pH meter that continuously runs. When I was at my fish farm, aquaculturists, their master parameter, pure aquaculturists, their master parameter is dissolved oxygen, what we call DO, dissolved oxygen. This is a typical cheap beginner's dissolved oxygen meter. Now, both Jed and I have learned you don't buy the cheap dissolved oxygen meter. They're pretty much just a waste of money. They might give you a somewhat accurate reading for a year, but then after that, you're going to be screwed and you're going to have to replace the meter. Even replacing the membranes, which comes with extra membranes, generally doesn't last very long. So I don't like these cheap ones. That doesn't mean you're going to spend $2,000 on a laboratory grade, top of the line YSI meter. It just means find a balance between quality and affordability, and going with the cheapest meter on the market is not the way to go when it comes to dissolved oxygen.
what did that one go for?
So guess what? When I went to do the test with the last people, it didn't work. It's a $200 meter. What I'm going to show you guys tomorrow is my favorite meter, which is made by YSI, waterproof, impact resistant, and often during courses I'll say, I love this meter. I love it so much, and I throw it at somebody in the class, and they duck, and it hits the ground, and it falls apart and goes across the floor and shatters. And I go and I pick it up, and I put the pieces back together, and everything's working, and it's in calibration. It doesn't shatter, just the cap falls off it, the batteries fall out, and the front comes out. I put it all back together, and it works fine. I've been doing that test for years, and the same meter works fine, and I rarely calibrate it. And I kiss it every time. I show the class, and I go, watch, my meter makes love to me, right? And I turn it on, and it's all self-calibrating. I'm like, oh baby. To a guy like me, that's like poetry in motion, man. I mean, that is like aquaculture porn, guys. I mean, not to have to calibrate your meter is everything. So it's a self-calibrating meter that rarely goes out of calibration, and I love it. And it's made by YSI. I'm going to show you guys. This thing, like you said, cost about $200, and it lasted him less than a year. I'm guilty, guys. The guy down in Nicaragua didn't want to spend a lot of money. I brought down a cheap meter, $200. Guess what? It lasted around 3 months. So, and I don't even think it was very accurate during that 3 months.
How much is the YSI meter?
The one that I'm going to show you guys is $379. Waterproof, 2-year warranty, self-calibrating. It's an excellent meter. So, the last two things I want to talk to you about, and the reason that I love my test kit so much that I'm going to share with you guys tomorrow, is that it doesn't just test for ammonia, and it doesn't use, check this thing out, John, it doesn't use a massive syringe slug full of chemicals just to do one test. This is how much chemical you put in for each test. It only uses what's that?
Just potassium chloride, right?
For the nitrate?
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought you were calibrating your own.
Yeah, no, this is a nitrate test. So, but you know, all the different tests have different reagents, and the reagents are different chemicals that react with the whatever you're testing. But they're designed different ways, and the one I have only requires 3 drops. So I like that because I'm making less waste in the environment. It costs me less. The kit lasts longer. There's nothing but benefits to that. But my kit that I'm going to share with you guys is my all-time favorite aquaponics kit. It's not necessarily kind of up to John's standards because he's doing a much more expensive, much larger, more things to lose situation. But for the money, it's incredible. It tests ammonia. It tests nitrite. It tests nitrate. It tests general hardness. It tests carbon hardness. It tests total alkalinity. It tests iron. Very important. Total dissolved iron. Available iron. It tests iron. It tests phosphates, which is also very, very handy if you're doing flowering plants. I bet you would like a good phosphate test, right, Johnny? Because he's doing a lot of flowering plants.
I've got one.
So, yeah.
I get the reagent kit from
Lamont?
No. It's the one that comes in the glass box kit. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Yeah, I mean, you can buy, and he's probably buying the more expensive aquaculture kits. What I'm going to show you guys tomorrow is the entry-level kit that'll last you for a long time, and it's a good balance between affordability and quality. So the last one I want to talk to you guys about is, well, wait, we covered them all. We covered iron, we covered phosphate. So yeah, so those are the basics. But what I also want to talk to you guys about is the way this fish house is laid out. So let's come on in here. Maybe 5 people can walk past me, and then everybody else can come in a row. 1 second, let me get out of the way here and put these aside.
Do you have a